The morning lights flickered on across Velner Academy, casting their artificial glow through the corridors of Celesta Prime Orbital Station. Hana walked quickly through the empty hallways, her footsteps echoing against the metal floors. She was late again. 3 days at this school, and she was already making mistakes. The scholarship from Earth had been her only chance. Her family back in the Korean sector had sacrificed everything to send her here. She couldn't mess this up. But navigating an alien space station was harder than she expected. Every corridor looked the same. Every alien species moved differently, thought differently, existed differently. She turned a corner and stopped. Voices echoed from the next hallway. Not friendly voices. Hana pressed herself against the wall and listened. "Please, not today," a soft voice begged. It sounded musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I have an important test. I cannot be late." "Oh, you have a test?" A deep, rumbling laugh followed. "Then, we better make this quick." Hana peered around the corner. Her breath caught in her throat. A girl stood against the wall, surrounded by 3 massive figures. The girl was small and delicate, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. But what caught Hana's attention were her wings. Beautiful, iridescent wings that caught the light like oil on water, displaying colors that shouldn't exist together. They were folded tight against her back, trembling. The 3 figures surrounding her were nothing like the fragile girl. They were huge, easily 7 feet tall, with thick scales covering their bodies like armor. Their eyes were yellow and cold. Their hands ended in clawed fingers. Hana had seen their species in the Academy database, Kratos, a warrior race known for their strength and aggression. The largest one, with dark green scales, grabbed one of the girl's wings. She cried out as he bent the delicate appendage backward. "Every morning, little bird," he said. "You know the routine. We greet you. You cry. Everyone learns where they belong in the order of things." "Back, please," the girl whimpered. Her voice was breaking, losing its musical quality. "You already broke 3 feathers yesterday. They have not healed." The one called Vec laughed. "Then we'll break 3 more today. Got to keep things balanced." The second Kratos, with lighter scales, reached for her other wing. "I think we should see if she can still fly with half her feathers gone. What do you think, Roth?" Roth grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Scientific experiment. The teachers would approve." The third one, Garan, stood watch at the corridor entrance. His yellow eyes scanned the hallways, making sure no one was coming. Hana should walk away. She knew this. She was new here. She had no friends, no protection, no reason to get involved in alien politics. The smart choice was to find another route to class and pretend she saw nothing. She thought about her brother, about the last conversation they had before his ship left for the outer rim. "The universe is full of people who look away," he had said. "Don't be one of them, Hana. When you see something wrong, you stand up. Even if you're scared. Especially if you're scared." Her brother never came back from that deployment. Hana stepped into the corridor. "Hey," she said. Her voice sounded small in the empty hallway, but it was steady. All 4 of them turned to look at her. The winged girl's eyes went wide. They were dark and deep, filled with fear and confusion. Vec released the girl's wing and faced Hana fully. He looked her up and down, taking in her small frame, her plain academy uniform, her empty hands. "A human," he said, making it sound like an insult. "I've heard about your kind. Weak, soft, always trying to make friends with everyone." "Let her go," Hana said. She kept her hands in her pockets, her posture relaxed. Inside, her heart was racing, but she remembered her brother's training. Never show fear to a predator. Roth laughed. "Did you hear that? The little human is giving us orders." "This doesn't concern you," Vec said. taking a step toward Hana. The floor vibrated under his weight. "Walk away while you can still walk." "I'm not walking away," Hana said. "You're hurting her. Stop." "Or what?" Goran moved to block the corridor exit. "You'll report us?" "We've been reported before. Nothing ever happens. Our people are too important to the Alliance. But you're just a scholarship student from a backwater planet. Nobody would miss you." The winged girl tried to speak. "Please, just go. They will hurt you." "I am not worth." "Yes, you are," Hana said, looking directly at her. "You're worth standing up for." Vex's expression darkened. "You want to play hero, human? Fine. Let me teach you what happens to heroes in the real galaxy." He moved fast for something so large. His clawed hand reached for Hana's throat. But Hana was already moving. She had spent 3 nights studying Kratos' anatomy in the Academy Library. She knew their strengths. More importantly, she knew their weaknesses. She ducked under his grab and drove her fist into his throat, right below the jaw where the scales were softer. Vex made a choking sound and staggered back. Roth roared and charged. Hana waited until the last second, then stepped aside. She used his own momentum against him, sweeping his leg and bringing her elbow down hard on his spine as he fell. He crashed into the floor with a sound like metal hitting metal. Goran was faster than the others. He learned from their mistakes. He didn't charge. He circled, looking for an opening. "You know how to fight," he said. "Interesting. But you're still small. Still weak." "Maybe," Hana said. "But I only need to be strong enough." Goran lunged. Hana blocked his first strike, then his second. His third hit connected with her shoulder, sending pain shooting down her arm. She ignored it. Pain was just information. Her brother had taught her the 2 dot. She dropped low and struck the pressure point behind his knee. Goran's leg buckled. As he fell forward, Hana delivered a precise strike to the nerve cluster under his arm. His entire right side went numb. Vek had recovered. He grabbed Hana from behind, lifting her off the ground. "Clever human," he hissed in her ear. "But not clever enough." Hana didn't struggle. She went limp, making him think she was giving up. Then she drove both thumbs into the soft spots beneath his jaw ridges, pressing hard on the nerve bundles she had memorized from the anatomy texts. Vex's grip spasmed open. As she dropped, Hana spun and kicked his knee joint with all her strength. The sound of cracking chitin echoed through the corridor. Vex screamed and fell. All 3 Kratos lay on the ground, groaning. The entire fight had taken less than 30 seconds. Hana walked over to the winged girl, who was pressed against the wall, her wings wrapped around herself like a protective shield. She was staring at Hana like she was seeing a monster, not a savior. "Are you okay?" Hana asked, extending her hand. The girl looked at the hand, then at the 3 fallen Kratos, then back at Hana. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took it. Her hand was warm and incredibly light. "My name is Ji Woo," she whispered. "Why did you do that? Why did you help me?" Before Hana could answer, security drones rounded the corner, their red lights flashing. An alarm began to wail throughout the station. Students poured into the corridor, staring at the scene. Hana looked at Ji Woo and managed a small smile. Because someone had to. The drones surrounded them, and Hana knew her life at Velnor Academy had just become very complicated. The disciplinary council chamber was cold. Hana sat on a metal bench, her hands folded in her lap, trying not to shiver. Across from her, Vex, Roth, and Goran sat with their parents and a Kratos ambassador. They looked angry. The ambassador looked even angrier. 2 security officers stood behind Hana. She had no parents here. No ambassador. Just a tired-looking woman in a formal suit who introduced herself as Ambassador Park from the Human Diplomatic Corps. "This is a mess," Ambassador Park muttered, sitting down next to Hana. 3 days. You've been here 3 days, and you've already created an interstellar incident. They were hurting her, Hana said quietly. I know, Ambassador Park sighed. But there are procedures for this, rules. You can't just attack students, even if they're bullies. What should I have done? Filled out a form while they broke her wings? Ambassador Park looked at her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. No, you did the right thing. But that doesn't mean there won't be consequences. The council filed in. 5 beings from 5 different species, all wearing formal robes. They sat at a raised platform, looking down at everyone else. The head counselor was a tall, thin creature with too many eyes and a voice like grinding stone. We are here to address the incident in Corridor 7B, the counselor announced. 3 Krathus students were injured by a human student. This is a serious matter. The Krathos ambassador stood. He was even bigger than Vec, with ceremonial armor that gleamed under the lights. This human attacked 3 innocent students without provocation. This is typical of her violent species. We demand her immediate expulsion and deportation back to Earth. Furthermore, we demand she be barred from all Alliance educational facilities. Hana's stomach dropped. If she was expelled, she could never come back. Her family's sacrifice would be for nothing. Ambassador Park stood. May we see the security footage? The footage played on a large screen. It showed everything. Vec grabbing Ji-Woo's wing. The girl's face twisting in pain. The threats. Then it showed Hana stepping into the corridor. It showed her throwing the first punch. As you can see, the Krathus ambassador said, the human struck first. This is assault. This is criminal behavior. Rewind the footage, Ambassador Park said. Show what happened before the human arrived. The council rewound the video. It showed Ji-Woo walking alone. Then Vec, Roth, and Garan surrounding her. It showed them grabbing her wings. It showed her begging them to stop. This appears to be a daily occurrence, Ambassador Park said. I request the council review security footage from the past 3 weeks. Same location, same time. The Krathus ambassador's scales darkened. That is irrelevant. The issue is the human's violence. The issue is your student's violence, Ambassador Park shot back. The human was defending another student from assault. The council deliberated quietly. Finally, the head counselor spoke. We will review previous footage. Until then, all students involved will remain on campus restriction. They adjourned for 2 hours. Hana sat in a waiting room with Ambassador Park. Ji-Woo was there too, her wings bandaged and folded carefully. She kept looking at Hana but didn't speak. Finally, Hana broke the silence. I'm sorry if I made things worse for you. Ji-Woo's eyes widened. Worse? You saved me. No one has ever. Everyone just watches. Everyone knows what they do, but no one ever stops them. Why not? Hana asked. Ji-Woo's wings trembled. Because the Krathos are powerful. Because people are afraid. Because it is easier to look away. That's wrong, Hana said. Yes, Ji-Woo agreed. But wrong things happen all the time in the galaxy. Before Hana could respond, the council called them back. This time, the atmosphere was different. The head counselor's many eyes all focused on the Krathos ambassador. We have reviewed the footage. The evidence is clear. Your students have been systematically assaulting multiple students over the past 4 months. We have documented 17 separate incidents. The Krathos ambassador's face remained stone. Those incidents were never reported through proper channels. Because the victims were afraid, the counselor said. And now we understand why. A door opened. 12 students filed in. Hana recognized some of them from her classes, but she had never spoken to them. They represented different species, different worlds. One was a small creature covered in crystalline formations. Two were identical beings with silver skin. One was tall and thin with too many joints. These students have come forward with testimony, the counselor said. One by one, they spoke. They described being pushed, threatened, hurt. They described living in fear. They described watching Vec and his friends terrorize anyone they considered weak. A crystalline student named Dassam stepped forward. Her voice sounded like bells chiming. 3 months ago, Vec pushed me down a stairwell because I accidentally brushed against him. He cracked my outer shell. I said nothing because I was afraid. But yesterday, I watched a human girl who I do not even know risk everything to protect someone she had never met. She was not afraid. Or if she was, she did not let fear stop her. She reminded me that staying silent is also a choice. So I choose to speak now. The council chamber was completely silent. The head counselor looked at the Kratos ambassador. Your students have violated Academy Code of Conduct on 17 documented occasions. They are hereby expelled, effective immediately. The Kratos ambassador's scales flushed dark red. This is outrageous. You would expel Kratos students because one human chose violence? No, the counselor said. We are expelling them because they chose violence repeatedly against weaker students. The humans simply had the courage to stop them. This is not over, the ambassador growled. The Kratos government will hear of this insult. They will also hear that their students brought shame to their people, the counselor replied. You are dismissed. Vec, Roth, and Goran were escorted out. Vec glared at Hana as he passed. You will regret this, human. Hana met his gaze steadily. I already told you. I don't regret protecting people. The counselor turned to Hana. As for you, while your actions were brave, you still violated Academy policy against physical violence. You are hereby placed on academic probation for the remainder of the semester. Any further violations will result in expulsion. Do you understand? Yes, counselor, Hana said. Good. You are dismissed. Outside the chamber, students were waiting. They gathered around Hana, asking questions, thanking her, treating her like some kind of hero. It made her uncomfortable. She wasn't a hero. She just did what anyone should do. Ji Woo pushed through the crowd. Her wings spread slightly, catching the light. It was the first time Hana had seen them fully extended. They were beautiful. Thank you, Ji Woo said. For everything, you don't need to thank me, Hana said. Yes, I do. You gave me something I had lost. Ji Woo's wings fluttered gently. Hope. Ambassador Park appeared beside them. Walk with me, Hana. They walked through the station corridors while the ambassador spoke. You've stirred up something here. The Kratos won't forget this. They have a long memory for grudges. I know, Hana said. But you also did something important. You showed these students that bullies only have power when good people do nothing. Ambassador Park paused at an observation window. Outside, stars stretched into infinity. Your brother would be proud. Hana's throat tightened. You knew my brother? I processed his final reports from the Outer Rim, Ambassador Park said softly. He died protecting civilians during a pirate raid. He could have evacuated, but he stayed behind to buy them time. The report said he saved 43 lives. Tears burned in Hana's eyes. I didn't know the details. They wouldn't tell my family. He was a hero. And so are you, whether you want to admit it or not. Ambassador Park placed a hand on Hana's shoulder. But being a hero isn't easy. There are always consequences. Always costs. Are you prepared for that? Hana looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, her brother had given everything to protect strangers. How could she do any less? Yes, she said. I'm prepared. Ambassador Park nodded. Good, because I have a feeling this is just the beginning. She was right. Across the station, in secure communication channels, the Kratos Military Academy was already hearing about the incident. And they were not pleased that a human had humiliated their warriors. They would send their best, and Hana would have to face them. Word traveled fast through Velner Academy. By the next morning, everyone knew about the human who fought 3 Kratos in 1. Students whispered when Hana walked past. Some looked at her with respect, others with fear. A few with something that looked like hate. Hana tried to ignore all of it. She went to classes, studied in the library, ate alone in the cafeteria. She had come here to learn, not to make friends or become famous. But the galaxy had other plans. Ji-woo found her during lunch on the second day after the hearing. The small Avari girl sat down across from Hana without asking permission. Her wings were still bandaged, but they no longer trembled. You should not eat alone, Ji-woo said. I'm fine alone, Hana replied, not looking up from her food. No one is fine alone. Ji-woo pushed a small container across the table. I made this for you. It is a traditional Avari sweet bread. We bake it for those who protect our families. Hana looked at the bread. It smelled like honey and something floral she couldn't identify. You didn't have to do that. I know. I wanted to. Ji-woo smiled. May I eat with you? Hana wanted to say no, wanted to keep her distance. But Ji-woo's dark eyes were hopeful, and Hana found she couldn't refuse. Okay. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Ji-woo spoke. The other students are talking about you. Some say you are dangerous. Others say you are brave. What do you say? I say I just did what needed to be done. That is what brave means, Ji-woo said gently. Doing what needs to be done even when it is hard. A crystalline figure approached their table. Hana recognized Dasam, the Lumen student who had testified at the hearing. Her body was made of translucent crystal that caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the table. May I join you? Dasam asked. Her voice chimed like glass bells. Of course, Ji-woo said, gesturing to an empty seat. Dasam sat carefully. Hana noticed she moved slowly, favoring her left side where her shell was still cracked. I wanted to thank you properly, Dasam said to Hana. What you did inspired me to finally speak up. I have lived in fear for so long, I forgot what it felt like to stand up straight. How's your shell? Hana asked, healing, slowly. Dasam's crystalline form flickered with inner light. My people heal from physical damage, but emotional damage takes longer. You helped with both. 2 more figures approached. Identical twins with silver skin and 4 arms each. They moved in perfect synchronization, finishing each other's sentences. We are Minho and Minjae, one said. We wanted to meet you. The other continued. Everyone is talking about the human who isn't afraid of the Kratos. Warriors, we think that's amazing, they said together. Soon their table was surrounded. Students from different species, different worlds, different cultures. All of them had one thing in common. They had been bullied, threatened, or hurt by someone stronger. And they had all stayed silent until Hana showed them silence wasn't the only option. Hana felt overwhelmed. She wasn't used to attention, wasn't used to people wanting to be around her. But as she looked at their faces, she saw something that made her chest tight. Hope. Real, genuine hope that things could be different. A tall woman with skin like polished metal approached their growing group. She wore a combat instructor's uniform. You must be Hana, she said. Yes, ma'am, Hana replied. I am Yuna. I teach advanced self-defense. She looked at Hana with interest. The security footage of your fight is impressive. You have formal training. My brother taught me, Hana said quietly. He taught you well? Would you be willing to demonstrate some techniques for my advanced class? Many students want to learn how to defend themselves, but they think they are too small or too weak. You could show them that size is not everything. Hannah hesitated. The last thing she wanted was more attention. But she thought about all the students who lived in fear every day. If she could help them feel safer, wasn't that worth some discomfort? Okay, she agreed. 2 days later, Hannah stood in the combat training arena. Yuna's advanced class surrounded her in a circle. There were about 30 students, all different species, all watching her nervously. Fighting is not about strength, Hannah began, feeling awkward. She wasn't a teacher. It's about understanding. You need to understand your body, understand your opponent, and understand physics. She demonstrated basic strikes, blocks, and counters. She showed them pressure points on different alien anatomies. She explained how to use momentum and leverage against larger opponents. The students watched intently, some taking notes, others trying to copy her movements. Where did you learn all this? A student asked. Hannah paused. She hadn't talked about her brother since arriving at the academy. But these students deserved the truth. My brother was in the Terran Defense Force. He served on the Outer Rim, protecting colony worlds from pirates and raiders. He taught me everything he knew about fighting. Was he a good teacher? Another student asked. The best, Hannah said, her voice catching slightly. He used to say that the strongest person in a fight isn't the one with the most muscle. It's the one who refuses to quit. Where is your brother now? Someone else asked. The arena went quiet. Hannah took a deep breath. He died 2 years ago. His ship was defending a civilian transport when pirates attacked. He could have retreated, but he stayed to protect the civilians. He saved 43 people before his ship was destroyed. Ji Woo, who was sitting in the front row, made a soft sound of grief. Her wings drooped. I'm sorry, the student who asked said quietly. Don't be sorry, Hannah said. He died doing what he believed in, protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. That's worth something. Yuna stepped forward. Your brother sounds like a true warrior. Not because he knew how to fight, but because he knew what was worth fighting for. Yes, Hannah agreed. That's exactly right. The class continued. Students practiced the techniques Hannah showed them. Some were clumsy at first, but they were trying. That was what mattered. After class, as students filed out, a message came through the Academy's communication system. It was addressed to Hannah. She opened it on her datapad. The message was from the Kratos Military Academy. It was formal and cold. To the human student Hannah, your actions against Kratos students have been noted. You have brought dishonor to our people. We hereby challenge you to a formal combat trial. Our champion, Combat Instructor Crow, will face you in the Academy arena in 7 days. If you refuse, you will be marked as a coward, and your protection of the weak will be seen as false bravery. If you accept and lose, you will publicly acknowledge Kratos' superiority. If you accept and win, we will recognize your status as a warrior. This is a matter of honor. You have 3 days to respond. Hannah's hand shook as she read the message. A formal combat trial. Against a Kratos military instructor. Someone trained from childhood to fight. Ji Woo appeared beside her. What is wrong? Hannah showed her the message. Ji Woo's wings fluttered in distress. You cannot accept this. Kral is famous among the Kratos. He has won hundreds of combat trials. He trains their best warriors. You will be hurt, possibly killed. If I refuse, everything I did means nothing, Hannah said. Everyone who found courage watching me fight will lose it again. The bullies will come back. Better that than you dying, Ji Woo said firmly. Dasim joined them, followed by Minho and Minjae. They had all seen the message on the public academy boards. You must refuse, Dasim chimed. This is not fair. They are sending their best against the student. Life is not fair, Hana said. That's why we have to stand up. But you do not have to stand up alone, Minho said. We will stand with you. Minjae continued. Even if you lose, we will remember that you tried. Yuna approached the group. I saw the challenge. It is within their rights under Alliance combat law. But you are not required to accept. What would you do? Hana asked why Una considered this. I would remember why I learned to fight in the first place. Is it to prove I am strong? Or to protect those who cannot protect themselves? If I accept this challenge, am I doing it for the right reasons? Hana thought about this for a long time. She thought about her brother, about the choices he made. He could have run when the pirates attacked. He could have saved himself. But he stayed because people needed protecting. This was different. This was a formal challenge, not a desperate defense. But the principle was the same. If she ran now, she was telling every bully in the galaxy that fear still worked. That intimidation still won. She couldn't do that. I accept, Hana said. Her friends protested, but she silenced them with a raised hand. I'm not doing this to prove I'm strong. I'm doing this because someone needs to show that bullies don't get to make the rules just because they're scary. Even if I lose, at least I tried. At least I didn't run. Jiang Wu's wings wrapped around Hana in a gentle embrace. Then we will help you prepare. You will not face this alone. And for the first time since arriving at Velmer Academy, Hana didn't feel alone. 7 days. Hana had 7 days to prepare for a fight against someone who had been training for combat since childhood. It seemed impossible. But she had faced impossible things before. Yuna became her primary trainer. Every morning before classes, they met in the combat arena. Yuna was relentless, pushing Hana harder than she had ever been pushed. But there was respect in the way she taught, not cruelty. Krell is twice your size and 3 times your weight, Yuna said on the first day. You cannot match his strength. You cannot outlast his endurance. So what can you do? Be faster, Hana said. Yes, but also smarter. Yuna circled her like a predator. Kratos warriors are trained in traditional combat forms. They follow patterns. Patterns can be learned. Patterns can be exploited. They spent hours studying footage of Krell's previous fights. Hana watched how he moved, how he attacked, how he defended. She memorized his preferred strikes, his defensive positions, his recovery time between attacks. He always leads with his right, Hana observed, even when it would be smarter to use his left. Good, Yuna said. What else? He protects his head and chest, but leaves his legs more exposed. He thinks his size makes low attacks ineffective. And? Hana watched more footage. He has a tell. Before his power strikes, his scales darken slightly. It's subtle, but it's there. Yuna smiled. Excellent. You are learning to see not just with your eyes, but with your mind. Ji Wu brought Hana special food from the Avari quarter of the station. It will help you build strength faster, she explained. My people might be fragile, but we know much about the body and how to heal it. Dasim provided detailed anatomical charts of Kratos' physiology. A crystalline mind could store and recall vast amounts of information. These are the pressure points, she chimed, highlighting spots on the diagrams. These are the weak points in the scales. These are the nerve clusters that, if struck correctly, will cause temporary paralysis. Minho and Minjae helped Hana practice against multiple opponents. Their synchronized movements taught her to track more than one threat at once, to anticipate attacks from unexpected angles. But not everyone was supportive. On the 3rd day of training, a group of Kratos students from the military track confronted Hana in the corridor. They didn't attack. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was threatening. You should withdraw from the challenge, their leader said. His name was Tarek, and he was almost as large as Krell. You are going to embarrass yourself. Worse, you are going to embarrass your entire species. I don't embarrass easily, Hana replied. Krell will break you, another Kratos said. He has broken warriors 3 times your size. What makes you think you have a chance? Maybe I don't, Hana admitted, but I'm going to try anyway. Tarek's eyes narrowed. Why? What are you trying to prove? That bullies don't get to win just because they're scary. For a moment, something flickered in Tarek's expression. Not anger. Something else. Something almost like respect. Then it was gone. You are either very brave or very stupid human. Probably both, Hana said. They left her alone after that, but she could feel their eyes on her as she walked to the training arena. The news of the upcoming fight spread beyond the academy. Other humans on the station started reaching out. Some offered advice. Others offered resources. A few begged her to withdraw, saying she was making all humans look bad. Ambassador Park visited her on the 4th day. She watched Hana train for a while, then called her over. You know, you don't have to do this. The Alliance would understand if you withdrew. Would you have withdrawn? Hana asked. Ambassador Park smiled sadly. No, I wouldn't have. But I'm a stubborn old woman who has made too many questionable decisions in her life. You're just a kid. I'm old enough to know right from wrong. Right and wrong aren't always the same as smart and stupid. Ambassador Park sighed. But I won't try to stop you. Just promise me something. If it gets too bad, if you're seriously hurt, you'll yield. Pride isn't worth dying for. I promise, Hana said. On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. Hana was studying in the library when a Kratos student approached her table. She tensed, ready to defend herself. But the student raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. I am not here to fight, he said quietly. His voice was different from Vex or Tarek's. Gentler. My name is Junwoo. I am from a Kratos colony that values scholarship over warfare. What do you want? Hana asked. Junwoo sat down carefully, making sure not to appear threatening. I want to help you. Not all Kratos believe in the path of the warrior. Some of us think there are better ways to live. But we are often silenced by those like Krell, who say strength is the only virtue that matters. Why help me? Because if you win, it proves something important. It proves that wisdom and courage can overcome brute strength. It proves that my people's way is not the only way. Junwoo pulled out a data pad. I have studied Krell's fighting style for years. I have notes on his weaknesses, his patterns, his mistakes. Let me share them with you. They spent 3 hours going through Junwoo's research. He showed Hana things even Yuna hadn't noticed. Small habits, tiny tells. Moments of vulnerability that lasted only fractions of a second. Why are you really doing this? Hana asked when they were done. Junwoo was quiet for a long time. Because when I was young, warriors like Krell made my life terrible. They said I was weak because I preferred books to battles. They said I brought shame to our people. No one stood up for me. Everyone just accepted that this was how things were. He looked at Hana with eyes that held old pain. You stood up for Ji-woo when no one else would. That took more courage than anything Krell has ever done. I want that courage to win. On the 6th day, Hana's body was covered in bruises from training. Every muscle ached. Every joint protested. Yuna pushed her through one final intensive session, testing everything she had learned. Remember, Yuna said as they finished. In a fight, the body can only do what the mind believes is possible. If you think you cannot win, you have already lost. But if you believe, truly believe, that you have a chance, then you do. That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She lay in her small dormitory room, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the next day. She thought about her brother, about the choice he made to stay and fight when running would have been easier. She wondered if he had been scared in those final moments. She thought he probably was, but he did it anyway. Ji-woo appeared at her door, wings wrapped around herself like a cloak. I could not sleep either, she admitted. May I stay with you tonight? Yes, Hana said. They sat together in the quiet darkness. Ji-woo hummed a gentle Avari song, something mothers sang to their children to chase away nightmares. It helped. Whatever happens tomorrow, Ji-woo said softly, you have already won something important. You have given hope to people who had forgotten what hope felt like. That is worth more than any fight. I'm scared, Hana admitted. It was the first time she had said it out loud. Good, Ji-woo said. Fear means you understand the danger. But you are going anyway. That is what makes you brave. The morning of the 7th day arrived too quickly. The arena was packed with students, teachers, and observers from across the station. News of the fight had spread throughout the alliance. This was no longer just about Hana and Krell. It had become a symbol. Human versus Kratos. Wisdom versus strength. The weak versus the strong. Hana stood in the preparation room, wrapping her hands carefully. She wore simple training clothes, no armor, no weapons, just herself. Yuna entered. It is time. Hana took a deep breath. I'm ready. No, you are not, Yuna said honestly. You have had 7 days to prepare for someone who has had a lifetime. You are not ready, but you are prepared, and sometimes that is enough. Ji-woo, Dasim, Minho, Minjae, and even Junwoo were waiting outside. They walked with her to the arena entrance. Ji-woo's wings brushed against Hana's shoulder, a gesture of affection and protection. You do not have to do this, Ji-woo whispered one last time. Yes, Hana said. I do. The arena doors opened, and the roar of the crowd washed over her. Across the arena, another door opened. Krell emerged, massive and terrifying, scales gleaming under the lights like dark armor. He looked like something from a nightmare, but Hana had faced nightmares before, and she was still standing. She walked to the center of the arena, head high, fear locked away in a small corner of her heart, where it couldn't stop her. It was time to show the galaxy what one determined human could do. The arena fell silent as Hana and Krell faced each other. The referee, a neutral Methodian official, stood between them and explained the rules. Combat until submission or incapacitation. No lethal strikes. No weapons. All other techniques permitted. Krell looked down at Hana. He was so much bigger. So much stronger. His scales were the color of old stone, marked with scars from countless battles. His eyes were cold and calculating. This was not a bully like Vec. This was a trained warrior. You are small, Krell rumbled. His voice was like grinding rocks. I will try to end this quickly. I do not enjoy hurting children. I'm not a child, Hana said quietly. And I'm not as easy to hurt as you think. Krell's eyes narrowed. We shall see. The referee raised her hand. The crowd held its breath. Then the hand dropped, and the fight began. Krell moved first, faster than something his size should move. His fist came at Hana like a hammer. She barely dodged, feeling the air pressure from the blow as it passed her face. If that had connected, the fight would have ended immediately. She countered with a quick strike to his ribs. Her fist bounced off his scales like hitting a wall. It was like punching stone. Krell didn't even seem to notice. He swept at her with his massive arm. Hana ducked under it and created distance. She couldn't trade blows with him. Every hit she took would do serious damage. Every hit he took would do almost nothing. This was going to be harder than she thought. Krell pressed his advantage. He was methodical, patient, driving her back with powerful strikes that she had to dodge or deflect. Each movement cost her energy. Each near miss reminded her how dangerous he was. The crowd watched in tense silence as the small human girl desperately avoided the Kratos warrior's attacks. Then Krell caught her. His hand wrapped around her arm, lifting her off the ground. For a moment, Hana saw satisfaction in his eyes. He thought it was over. He slammed her into the arena floor. Pain exploded through her body. Ribs cracked. The air left her lungs. Spots danced in her vision. The crowd gasped. In the viewing area, Jiwoo covered her eyes with her wings. She couldn't watch. Krell stood over Hana. Yield, human. There is no shame in losing to a superior opponent. Hana lay on the ground, pain screaming through every nerve. It would be so easy to yield. To let this be over. No one would blame her. She had tried. That was enough, wasn't it? Then she thought about her brother. About Jiwoo. About every student who had found courage watching her fight. About what it would mean if she gave up now. She pushed herself up, slowly, painfully, but she got up. No, she said, spitting blood. Not yet. Krell's expression changed. Not anger. Something else. Respect, maybe. You are brave. Foolish, but brave. He attacked again. This time, Hana was ready. She had been watching his patterns, just like Jungwoo taught her. Krell always led with his right. Always protected his head. Always recovered in the same way. Patterns could be learned. Patterns could be exploited. When Krell's next strike came, Hana didn't dodge away. She moved inside his guard, too close for his long reach to be effective. She drove her elbow into the soft scales under his arm, hitting the nerve cluster Dasim had showed her. Krell's entire right arm went numb for a moment. God, it was only a moment, but that was enough. Hana struck his knee joint, the same spot she had hit on Vec. Krell stumbled but didn't fall. His scales were too thick, his bones too strong, but he was learning that she could hurt him. That was important. They circled each other. Krell was more cautious now. He watched for her quick movements, anticipated her strikes. But Hana was learning too. She was reading his tells, the way his scales darkened before power strikes, the way he favored his left leg slightly. The fight became a brutal dance. Krell's massive strikes tearing through the air. Hana's quick counters finding the small gaps in his defense. She couldn't hurt him much, but she could hurt him a little. And little by little, she was wearing him down. But she was wearing down too. Her cracked ribs made breathing agony. Her muscles burned. Her vision blurred from exhaustion. She couldn't keep this up much longer. She needed to end this. But how do you end a fight against someone who won't fall? Then she remembered something Yuna had said. In a fight, the body can only do what the mind believes is possible. Krell believed he was invincible. His entire fighting style was built on that belief. What if she could shatter that belief? She let Krell think he had her. Let him back her into a corner. Let him raise his massive fist for what he thought was a finishing blow. His scales darkened. There was the tell dot as his fist came down. Hana dropped and rolled. His strike hit the arena wall, cracking it. Before he could recover, she was on his back. Her arm wrapped around his throat, her legs locked around his torso. It was a choke hold her brother had taught her. Not meant to kill. Just meant to cut off blood to the brain until consciousness faded. But Kratos' necks were thick. Their blood vessels were protected. Her arms weren't strong enough to apply the pressure she needed. Krell reached back, grabbed her, and threw her off. She hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact, but still feeling fresh pain shoot through her body. Krell turned to face her, breathing heavily. You are skilled, human. More skilled than I expected. But skill has limits. Your body is failing. Yield now, and you can walk away with honor. Hana got up again. Slower this time. Everything hurt. Her body was screaming at her to stop. But she wasn't done yet. She had one more idea. One last technique her brother had taught her. Not about strength. about leverage and timing and understanding physics. "Come on," she said, barely loud enough to hear. "One more time." Krell charged. Full power. Intending to end this. Hana waited, counting the seconds, watching his approach, calculating angles and momentum. At the last possible moment, she dropped low, grabbed his leg, and used every bit of remaining strength to lift and twist. Physics did the rest. Krell's own momentum carried him up and over. Hana had redirected his force, used his weight against him. He crashed to the ground with a sound like thunder. Before he could recover, Hana was there, striking the nerve cluster at the base of his tail with all her remaining strength. Krell's entire lower body went numb. He tried to get up, but his legs wouldn't respond. For the first time, uncertainty showed in his eyes. Hana didn't give him time to adapt. She struck again, this time at the pressure points under his jaw. Krell's head snapped back. She delivered a final strike to his temple, not hard enough to cause serious damage, but hard enough. Krell's eyes rolled back. He fell forward, unconscious before he hit the ground. The arena was silent. Completely, utterly silent. Then someone started clapping. It was Junwoo, the Krathus scholar, standing and applauding. Then Dasam joined, her crystalline body chiming in celebration. Then Ji-woo, her voice rising in an Avari victory song that sounded like wind chimes and hope. Then more students, teachers, observers. The entire arena erupted in applause. Hana stood over Krell's unconscious form, swaying, barely able to stand. The referee raised Hana's arm, declaring her the winner. The pain was overwhelming. She could feel consciousness slipping away. But she had done it. Against all odds, she had won. Medical teams rushed in to check both fighters. Krell woke up a few minutes later, confused and angry. He looked at Hana as she was being treated for her injuries. For a long moment, he just stared. Then, slowly, he raised his hand in a Krathos warrior's salute. "You fight with honor," he said, his voice strained. "I underestimated you. I will not make that mistake again." It wasn't friendship. It wasn't love. But it was respect. And in the galaxy, sometimes respect was enough to change things. 3 weeks later, Hana sat in the academy courtyard with her friends. Her ribs had healed. The bruises had faded. But the impact of that fight had not faded. Something had changed at Velner Academy. The bullying hadn't completely stopped, but it had decreased dramatically. Students were standing up for each other. The weak were finding courage. The strong were finding wisdom. Ji-woo performed her species' traditional flight dance in the center of the courtyard. Her wings, fully healed, spread wide and caught the sunlight. They were beautiful, displaying colors that seemed impossible. Other students gathered to watch, and for once, they watched with appreciation, not fear. When Ji-woo finished and landed gracefully, she joined Hana on the bench. "You changed things here," she said softly. "Not just for me. For everyone. I just threw some punches," Hana said. "No." Ji-woo's wings fluttered gently. "You showed us that protecting others is worth the risk. You showed us that sometimes the smallest person can make the biggest difference. You showed us what it means to be brave." Dasam chimed in agreement. "The data supports this. Reports of bullying are down 63% since your fight. Reports of students helping each other are up 87%. You have statistically improved life at this academy." Minho and Minjae appeared, moving in their synchronized way. "We have news," Minho said. "The Academy Council is creating," Minjae continued, "a new program. Student Protection Services. Where trained students help protect those who cannot protect themselves. They want you to help lead it," they said together. Hana shook her head. "I'm not a leader. I'm just someone who couldn't walk away." "That is exactly what makes you a leader," Yuna said, approaching the group. "Leadership is not about wanting power. It is about being willing to stand up when no one else will. Ambassador P.